Hello everyone, and welcome to the Endgame Right-Click Mage Setup Guide. Today we're going to be talking about the pets, the weapon, and the ultimate enchant on your armor that you should be using for Endgame Right-Click Mage. So first things first, let's talk about what is Endgame Right-Click Mage. So, Endgame Right-Click Mage is where you right-click Mage Blood Rush to the Blood Room with your Archer in M7. And once you get to Blood Room, you swap to your left-click Mage setup and you do secrets and you start camping. So this right-click Mage setup is only for the Blood Rush portion itself alongside your Archer. So let's get right into the video. Just be warned that there is a lot of numbers in this video and I will try my best to explain everything as clearly as possible. So the gear used, we have our Heroic Witherblade with a perfect Amethyst and a perfect Sapphire with Chimera 5 Ultimate Enchant, and the normal enchants are all tier 7, which affect the RCM damage. Also, the variant of the Witherblade changes based on the test, and it will be clearly labeled when a Hyperion is used or when an Astraea is used. Also, the armor is 3/4 Storm with Wither Goggles, and in the photos it shows 2 perfect Sapphires, but in the tests 1 perfect Sapphire and 1 perfect Amethyst was used. Also, Legion 5 is currently on this RCM armor, but based on the test, different ultimate enchants have been used, and they're also clearly labeled. An Implosion Belt is also used for this test, but no Dominance or Mana Pool was present on the Implosion Belt. So only the ability should be scaling the damage, and it should not be skewed by anything else. Okay, let's move on. The pet we're going to be testing is a Sheep with a Minos Relic and a Chimera Blade versus a Golden Dragon with the Dwarf Turtle Shelmet and a Sub-Zero Wisp with the Textbook and a Chimera Blade. Okay, so the Sheep is because it gives ability damage, it can be copied onto your blade and scaled up with stars. Golden Dragon just because it gives base damage, which affects RCM damage, and Sub-Zero Wisp because it gives a crazy amount of health and intelligence, which can both be scaled by Kata using Chimera on the Witherblade. Okay, let's move on. The Ultimate Enchant. There are 3 possible Ultimate Enchant: Legion, Wisdom, and Last Stand. Legion giving more EHP and more damage, Wisdom giving the same EHP and more damage, and Last Stand giving more EHP and no damage. So we'll be testing out exactly what values of each. Okay, so Last Stand calculation. Last Stand is a weird ultimate enchant since it increases the defense by 25% when you're below 40%. But the thing is, let's say you're at 50% of your HP and you get hit and you drop to 30%, Last Stand does not proc on the hit. It only procs on future hits. So we're going to assume that you start at 30% of your health, not at 40%, since hits can take you below 40%. So that's why we have the boxes highlighted in green, and it's an arbitrary value chosen to keep the testing fair. And this is the formula for Last Stand EHP calculation that we've used in the future slides, along with the breakdown of what the variables mean. Okay, moving on. We have the damage comparison. Again, no surprise here, but the only thing to note is that the Sheep with the Hyperion is actually as good as a G-Drag. And as we can see here, Last Stand is a little bit less damage, but not enough to notice that much of a difference. And the setups with G-Drag and Hype and Sheep and Hype pull ahead of any Astraea builds, which fall in line with the Wisp and Hyperion builds. Those are 1 tier behind the Hype G-Drag Sheep builds, and Wisp and Astraea builds are 1 tier below the Astraea Golden Dragon and Sheep builds. Okay, that's the damage comparison here. Moving on to the EHP comparison. Here you can see the Wisp shine against the Golden Dragon, with the Hype builds that were doing the most damage now having the least amount of EHP, and the builds that were doing the least amount of damage having an absolute crazy amount of EHP. Also, one thing to note is that Last Stand pulls away further ahead, and we can see Last Stand having an effect on where certain builds fall into the category of EHP. So based on the previous graph and this one, Last Stand is definitely the best ultimate enchant. Legion and Wisdom, they do not affect the stats enough to be worth it, so definitely Last Stand is the best ultimate enchant. Anyways, let's keep moving. So the efficiency chart, this one is just mathematically calculated efficiency. It's not reflective of the real world, but it's just here to show you which the mathematically most efficient setup is. And no surprise, the Astraea Wisp is by far the most mathematically efficient setup. Okay. Here is the actual results, practical representation in M7. All of these mobs are present in M7, and their damage and their HP have also been taken from M7. There's one thing to note here. The Withermancer data on the hits to kill is a little bit off since they do have magic resistance, but there's no clear information on how to calculate the magical resistance, so just keep that in mind when looking at this data. Just one thing is a little bit off. Okay, so how exactly are we going to take a look at this table? So on the far right, we have Golden Dragon Hyperion, and in the middle, we have Golden Dragon with Astraea, and in the left, we have Wisp and Astraea. All three builds are using Last Stand. And in the top, the respective HP and the damage values are given for each build. And let's take a look at the table. So we view this table from the right to left, so starting with the Golden Dragon and Hyperion. So when we look at the red box in the yellow section for the Golden Dragon and Astraea, it's telling us that the numbers in the yellow section are one higher than the numbers in the green section. So all the mobs that are in the yellow section for the hits to kill need one extra hit when compared to the G-Drag Hyperion over here, which is in the green. So 8 mobs out of the total 16 need one extra hit to kill with the Golden Dragon and Astraea. And here for the Wisp, the same thing. 4 mobs out of the total 16 need one extra hit with the Wisp Astraea when compared to Golden Dragon Astraea. So this would mean that the mobs in red over here need 2 extra hits when compared to Golden Dragon Hyperion. Okay. So let's talk about the hits to death. This basically means how many hits you can survive from the mobs before you die. And here it's telling us the same story. You can survive an extra 2.5 hits on average from each mob if you're using a Golden Dragon Astraea when compared to Golden Dragon Hype. And you can survive an extra 3 hits from a mob compared to Golden Dragon Astraea with the Wisp Astraea. And against the Golden Dragon Hyperion, you can survive around 5.5 extra hits from each mob before you die. Okay, so that's how you read this table. And as you can see, the middle ground, Golden Dragon Astraea, is not even a middle ground. It is a very flawed middle ground. It is horrible. You should either be going for Golden Dragon Hyperion or Wisp and Astraea. They both make the best mathematical sense in this scenario. The Golden Dragon Astraea is poorly optimized. You are better off surviving 2.5 less hits and killing 8 mobs in 1 less hit than using the Golden Dragon Astraea, since the upgrade from that would lead you to survive 3 extra hits, but only cost you 1 extra click to kill just 4 mobs out of the total 12. So this is not a middle ground at all. This is in an awkward, weird middle place where it's not even close to the meta. The meta is going to be Wisp Astraea for EHP focused people and Golden Dragon Hyperion for damage focused people. But just by looking at the stats, for 8 of the mobs, you're going to just require 1 extra hit to kill. And most of these mobs have 8, 9, or 5 hits to kill them. And just taking 1 or 2 extra hits is not really that big of a deal, since you gain 5 bonus hits before you die from them. It is incredible how much more tanky the Wisp makes you. The Wisp is by far one of the best right-click mage pets just because of the EHP alone, and you're not sacrificing that much damage at all. When compared to Hyperion G-Drag, when compared to Astraea G-Drag, the Wisp is a clear winner. There's no contest here. you need one extra hit for mobs that take you more than 6 hits to kill already. That one extra hit is almost negligible in this matter, but you're getting 3 extra hits before you die. It is incredible how much better the Wisp Astraea is over the Golden Dragon Astraea, which is why this setup does not make any sense. And going back to the Golden Dragon Hyperion, the Astraea doesn't make sense in this scenario as well, since half the mobs require an extra hit to kill. It's not like comparing to a Wisp where only 1/4 of the mobs need an extra hit, and most of those mobs are more than 6 hits to kill. Here, you're going from mobs that require 1 hit to kill with the G-Drag Hype to 2 hits to kill with G-Drag Astraea, 3 hits to kill to 4. You're having many mobs that are going from 1-shot potential to 2-shot. So this Golden Dragon Astraea setup does not make sense in terms of EHP and damage. You're losing way too much on the damage from G-Drag Hype to even consider this build for its EHP. And same thing, if you wanted the EHP, you would be going with Wisp Astraea. This build does not make sense mathematically. It is not a middle ground. This is the current meta for Maging in M7, and it makes no sense why people are doing it. Actually, there might be a reason, we'll get to that later. But if money is no object, this doesn't make any sense at all to use Golden Dragon Astraea. It's Wisp Astraea or Golden Dragon Hype, and that is the definitive meta. So here we have the verdict. Sub-Zero Wisp is the best RCM pet. There is nothing better except for maybe Golden Dragon and Hyperion, in which case you would favor damage, but that build is only for very, very good mages that can survive blood rushes and know exactly what they're doing, and they can use Hyperion Golden Dragon to its full potential. But for the common player, Sub-Zero Wisp with a Chimera Astraea is by far the best setup. And Golden Dragon Astraea does not have room for this in its meta. Anyways, let's talk about why people don't use the Wisp. Simple. People are broke. It's 7 billion coins extra on top of your current setup. You're going to need the Golden Dragon pet for camping and LCM damage anyway, and you probably already have an ultimate-wise Witherblade. So there is no additional cost to RCMing with a Golden Dragon Hyperion or Golden Dragon Astraea. But for the Wisp, you need to get a whole nother Chimera Witherblade. And I'd say whole nother Chimera Blade because you do not want to be using your ultimate-wise blade and converting over to Chimera, since you're going to want an ultimate-wise blade for outside of dungeon stuff, since Chimera burns mana like crazy. And so you're going to need to buy a Chimera 5 Witherblade and a Sub-Zero Wisp pet, which can easily cost you over 7 billion coins. So this is the main reason why people aren't favoring the Golden Dragon Astraea, is because many people can't afford the Wisp. It's not even in the question for them. For them, it's EHP, Golden Dragon Astraea, or damage, Golden Dragon Hype. There is no option for ultimate EHP to go with Sub-Zero Wisp. But if money were no object, the Sub-Zero Wisp is by far the best RCM pet. So, to conclude, the best RCM setup for Master Mode 7 would be a Heroic Astraea with a perfect Amethyst and a perfect Sapphire, and Chimera 5 with Tier 7 enchants that affect your RCM damage, along with Last Stand 5 on your armor with a Sub-Zero Wisp pet. Well, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed, and have a great day.